Famed Jedi General and esteemed knight Obi-Wan Kenobi has lived one of the most tragic lifetimes of anyone in the modern Star Wars lore that we know of, losing the entirety of his life as he knew it upon the collapse of the Republic at the hands of his own former apprentice. As he watched Anakin slip into the clutches of the dark side, he reluctantly resorted to killing his friend, who he had fought beside for years, only for Anakin to survive this encounter and embrace his new life as Darth Vader under the shadow of the Empire. This would be a moment that Obi-Wan would struggle with for the following 2 decades, as he promised that he would train the young Luke Skywalker, the very son of Anakin, in the ways of the Jedi. After being killed aboard the Death Star, however, Kenobi was able to surrender himself to the Force, maintaining his consciousness and watching Luke carry on his journey, the journey towards finally defeating Vader once and for all. This means that although he was only briefly seen during Anakin's eventual redemption and the supposed death of the Emperor, Obi-Wan did in fact bear witness to these events, and he was present when this happened. And Obi-Wan was present when Lord Vader finally became Anakin once more. So what did Obi-Wan think of Anakin's redemption? What did he think of Luke's confrontation? And despite all of it, did he still have faith that his apprentice could be redeemed? Well, today, students of the Force and travelers of the galaxy, let's explore that question. The last we saw Obi-Wan Kenobi in his own series, he had come to terms that Anakin Skywalker has finally died, and that now only Darth Vader remains. And this is why Vader refers to him as simply Darth in A New Hope. Over the events of the original trilogy, Obi-Wan even tells Luke that Anakin Skywalker was a good friend, but that again, he was ultimately killed by Vader, signifying that at least during this period in his life, Obi-Wan had no hope for Anakin. Thanks to the tie-in novel though, The Life and Legend of Obi-Wan Kenobi, we are able to see what Kenobi thought of the events after his death as he watches Luke complete his journey towards redeeming his own father. Though it's important to mention that as of now, this novel exists in Legends continuity, therefore these events aren't officially canon as of now, there is little reason to believe they would be any different, and there is little evidence to dispute that these events were drastically different in canon. So with that out of the way, let's get straight into it. The novel first showcases Obi-Wan's thoughts on Vader as he held them in life during his exile, which seemed to be in line with the recent finale of the Kenobi series as we know it. In the finale, again, Obi-Wan accepts that Anakin Skywalker is truly dead, and all that remains is this mechanical husk known as Vader, who he believes to be an entirely separate person, an entity. In the novel, this mindset is largely the same when concerning Obi-Wan, as Yoda and Obi-Wan both believe Anakin to be truly gone. This is also supported by their actions while guiding Luke in the original trilogy, as they both actively encourage Luke to kill Vader, seeing that there is no hope for Anakin's redemption, and this is perhaps one of Obi-Wan's greatest failures as a master. Luke, however, remained adamant that his father could be saved and redeemed, and elected to try his absolute hardest to bring his father back to the way of the light. Shortly after the death of Master Yoda, Luke left Dagobah and handed himself over to Vader, trying to reason with him in the minutes before he was brought before the Emperor directly in his throne room. In the novel, it is explained that Obi-Wan is actually here with Luke, watching him try and fail to bring back Anakin. Obi-Wan, though, came to regret that he didn't do more to convince Luke that his father was truly gone, and he actively wished that he had done something more to convince the young Skywalker that killing Vader was truly the only way. These are the thoughts of a Force ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi as Luke is entering the throne room of the Emperor. This sentiment carried on until Luke entered the Emperor's throne room and was taunted by Sidious. Eventually, the conflict erupted into the famous final lightsaber duel between Luke and his father, and with his emotions driven to an all-time high, Obi-Wan was still rooting for Luke to kill Vader in order to avoid prolonging the fight and risking Luke's own exposure to the dark side. While the Emperor wanted Luke to kill Vader in order to cement his fall to the dark side, Obi-Wan wanted Vader to die for a different reason. The primary driving factors between seeing a Jedi fall to the dark side are pain, anger, fear, and suffering, each of which have driven a Jedi further into the clutches of the darkness as they use these negative emotions to fuel their Force connection with it. Palpatine was betting on Luke's anger at his father, and his cold-blooded murder being the driving force between finally drawing Luke into the darkness completely, making Luke an agent of the Sith once and for all. a superior apprentice to that of Vader. But Obi-Wan believed that Luke was already on that path, only in Obi-Wan's mind, he was driven by the likes of fear, not anger. In the throne room, he could sense the great fear that Luke carried for his friends, and it was this very same fear of losing a loved one that pushed Anakin into Palpatine's clutches in the first place. This meant that Obi-Wan actually believed that Luke needed to kill Vader in order to prevent himself from falling to the dark side, as he would finally be at peace. He believed that killing Vader was the only way to conquer Luke's fear, and only after Vader was gone would Luke finally have the peace of mind necessary to cement himself in the light side fully. It's important to note that this option is not completely unfounded, as a Jedi Knight is not forbidden from killing. Obi-Wan himself killed dozens of sentient enemies during his time as a Jedi Knight, yet he was still able to follow the light side of the Force, and not give in to temptation throughout the remainder of his life, despite taking much life himself. Even after killing his own longtime rival Maul on Tatooine, Obi-Wan was able to remain a servant of the Force and a light side member of the Jedi Order. Therefore, Obi-Wan believed that Luke had to kill Vader in order to subdue the fear which he had for his friends, and his own fear of Vader, and the fact that Luke may be just like him, something that Luke feared himself, which would protect Luke ultimately from the dark side would be to kill Vader and end these fears outright, when in reality, killing Vader would cement these fears permanently. This goes to show that Obi-Wan had truly lost all faith in his former apprentice, and when Vader did finally turn on the Emperor, Obi-Wan was astounded. In this moment, he was utterly shocked and emotionally overwhelmed to learn that Luke was right, even though just moments earlier, Obi-Wan had believed all was lost. Obi-Wan was fully committed to the idea that Luke would die after surrendering his weapon and refusing the Emperor's fall to the dark side, and he believed that after Luke was killed, Palpatine would continue to reign supreme, with Vader as his right-hand executioner. As Luke carried Vader toward their escape shuttle during the imminent destruction of the Death Star, Obi-Wan had a drastic decision to make. His faith had been restored by Luke, and he finally saw Anakin for the Jedi that he had once been, though he was quickly dying, and Obi-Wan too had to act quickly. Here, on Vader's final deathbed, Obi-Wan gave Anakin an extremely expedited training session on how to maintain his consciousness after death, just as Qui-Gon Jinn had taught both him and Yoda. Although Anakin was shocked to hear the voice of Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan effectively told Anakin to shut up and listen before divulging the secrets of manifesting himself as a Force spirit. And during his final moments, Anakin was able to achieve this mystical Jedi feat. In tandem with Vader's own innate Force sensitivity and newfound sense of peace following his redemption, he was able to give himself to the Force and join his former masters in the bridge between life and death. Given their reunion on Endor, as they watched Luke and his friends celebrate the death of the Emperor, it is safe to say that Anakin was ultimately forgiven by both Jedi. But that didn't mean that Obi-Wan and Yoda had always had faith in his ability to be redeemed, as the truest emotion that Obi-Wan was left with was pride for Luke and pride for Anakin. Both Jedi, though, had actively lost faith in their former friend and believed that Vader was now his permanent identity. In the end, though, after seeing Anakin return, Obi-Wan made the decision to forgive him completely, and beyond this, reach through the physical realm and bring him back as a Force ghost. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi's reaction on Darth Vader being redeemed in Return of the Jedi? What are your thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi's own thoughts during the final climactic duel on the second Death Star between Luke and Vader? And as always, if you have any other video topics you would like to see explored later, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. As always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.